All right. Welcome, everybody, to the best time of the week once again. But you know what? We got a lot of heat today. So I don't know if you guys are ready, but what are they in for, Lionel?
Y'all are in for probably one of the most hostile episodes of Off the Top Rope.
Probably, hey, there's a lot of stuff going on and there's a lot of shit we got to talk about. So, you know, let's get into it, man.
Proffitt, we have a lot of topics that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
What would you like to talk about first?
Man, you know what? There is stuff going around everywhere. First thing, let's talk about that hot off the presses. That Joe Hendry, the thing that just happened with Joe Hendry was supposed to be going to a feud with the Miz and it got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go into that.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about it. This episode is going to be a little bit different. We are going to talk about Dynamite Collision, but we're going to talk about them a little bit later. There's a lot of other stuff we got to talk about first before we get into the shows. Great shows, by the way. But like Proffitt said, Fightful. And again, y'all know me. I'm not a big fan of the wrestling media stuff, but I saw this and we got to talk about it. Joe Hendry was allegedly set to feud with The Miz on Raw, but the idea was shut down by a member of TNA because it would have involved Joe Hendry taking a loss. Now, we don't know. I don't know when this was. I don't know when the plans were supposed to start, but you know now, Joe Hendry, current TNA World Heavyweight Champion.
Yes.
There is a possibility. And like I said, again, possibility. We don't know because we don't know that info. The possibility that this could have happened within like the last 3 months while Joe Hendry has been TNA World Champion. So they would have presented, they more than likely would have presented Joe Hendry as TNA World Champion, would have gotten to a feud with The Miz. Whatever The Miz was going to do, The Miz was going to do. And at the end of this, Joe Hendry, the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, would have lost to The Miz.
Man, there's a lot to unpack here, man. Like a lot.
I think the first thing that we have to say, because like I said, I'm on hostile energy today. One of our first podcasts, Proffitt, you brought up before we started recording.
Yep.
One of our first podcasts, when it was known that WWE and TNA were doing this partnership, the first thing we said was WWE is going to use this partnership to either raid talent or use whatever talent is on TNA to big up their own talent. And what do you know? Literally both have happened.
Yep. Yeah. They rated talent, of course, and pretty much if you look, most of the title matches that have happened between TNA and they're partnered with NXT, which is ridiculous to me still. It is totally the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. You have a World Heavyweight Championship versus the developmental champion. But I'm not going to go that far into the weeds on that. But WWE never saw them past a developmental company.
No.
They never saw them like, oh, they can't hang with the big boys. They can't hang with the Raws and the SmackDowns. I beg to differ. But, yeah, man, like, they just never saw them as equals. And now TNA is finally seeing what we saw almost over a year ago. They don't give a shit about your main talent. The most they'll take your main talent to is developmental, and they'll make your talent lose in developmental.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, they had the only time like a TNA talent has actually gotten over in like any type of ring or NXT ring or something like that was like the fucking Hardy Boys because they're ex WWE guys. It is so ridiculous. And like you got guys like Moose goes over there, like Moose, he did his thing with Obafemi. Of course, it wasn't for the X Division title, it was for the NXT championship. Moose, a multiple time world champion, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm stressing the world champion part versus the NXT champion Obafemi. Obafemi wins. So you tell me the world champion is lesser than the developmental champion. That's been the problem the whole goddamn time.
A lot of people should have known this was going to happen because whenever WWE gets into bed with anybody, this is how it goes. The WWE talent's going to win no matter where they go. Like, we see it all the time.
Yeah.
So it's funny that this is happening and people are like, oh, yeah, TNA made a good call or things like that. Because literally, Joe Hendry right now is a TNA world champion. And like you said, you stressed world champion because this is one of those titles that people do distinguish as a literal world champion. People pick and choose all the time. TNA is one. Why would Joe Hendry lose to The Miz? Can anyone give me a good reason on why Joe Hendry would get into a program with The Miz and lose that program? Would it even be, at this point, that means it wouldn't be for the TNA World Championship. The World Champion would just be in the thing with The Miz doing whatever carny shit WWE wants to do just for the TNA World Champion to lose? Like, what? Okay. Why? What is the reason? What's the story behind that?
Yeah. Like, if anything, it diminishes the value of the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
It, like, completely diminishes it. Like, every time they do these, they were doing these things with, like, they have done WWE. The TNA side of it got diminished. They did not get upped at all. Like, you can't tell me, like, your women's world champion losing to, the NXT champion was a good idea. It wasn't. It was a terrible idea. It's just they didn't protect. They're not protecting their talent. They're just sending them out there and they're just letting WWE pretty much, hey, doesn't work for me, brother, type deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. It's pretty bad.
I think that's the most frustrating thing about this entire thing. Like it is very weird that like, and I get it. WWE is WWE, right? So everyone has to bow down to WWE because that's just how this is at this point, right? Like everyone has to do whatever WWE says. If you don't, you're just not part of the industry or whatever. But if WWE want to pull someone to work with The Miz, why can't they pull anyone else? Did they have to pull the world champion to do that? Like, did it have? It's weird that it had to be Joe Hendry. And that's the only way he was going to get on Raw because that was a Raw thing. So the only way he was going to do it is to lose to The Miz. Like he couldn't, there's no one else that the TNA World Champion could just beat on a Raw. Nothing.
No way. Like I'm going to say, there's so many people he could have went into a feud with if they didn't want him to beat the old guard, which is like, The Miz or something like that. There's plenty of people in like, I guess they're not really non-existent U.S. Championship division or Intercontinental Championship stuff or anything like that, right? Like, but yeah, they pretty much are like, hey, your world champion has no business being on Raw and pretty much isn't at the level of the rest of our guys. That's pretty much what it says. You ain't nothing more than developmental to us. I'm stressing that again. They see TNA as nothing more but a developmental indie. That's what they think they are.
It's weird. It's just weird. Like I don't like I really don't understand it. But that's what they think of talent outside of WWE. That's what it is. So y'all got into bed with them. All these indie promotions are getting into bed with them with WWID. And I mean, look where this is. Look what this is getting you. Has anyone seen has there been a lot of actual turnover from WWE fans to other places?
No,
probably not.
Not at all. Not at all, man.
I don't know. Yeah, we got another story that I didn't talk to you about, but I want to bring this up to you because this is interesting. This one's interesting.
You're gonna get my raw emotion right now.
Mm-hmm. So Brian Alvarez was talking this week about WrestleMania ticket sales in Vegas, right?
Wait, I think I know where you're going with this.
You know where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I know where you're going with it.
So Brian Alvarez was talking about how Vegas is not a basically was saying that Vegas is not a wrestling city, and it's most likely not going to sell out because no one wants to go to Vegas anymore because Vegas is too expensive to do things, and that is probably going to be the reason why WrestleMania will not sell out.
Wait, hold on, hold the fuck on. So you're saying when they were in California was cheaper? When they were in what, Florida? They're saying Florida was cheaper? Like, get the fuck out of here. We drumming up them excuses already? So it sounds like they ain't gonna sell out.
They're probably not gonna sell out. Here it is right here. The story is WWE WrestleMania and Las Vegas are not a good match. That is the story. Right now. I'm not gonna say exactly where we are. But if you know anything about this podcast and things like that, we live in Las Vegas. I actively know a lot of people who don't really like wrestling, but have always wanted to go to like a WrestleMania. I know some people who would go just because it's here, right? there's a lot of factors on why these tickets aren't moving the way that people want them to move. The main one is the goddamn prices.
Yeah, they're a lot, dude.
Have y'all seen some of these prices? Like some of these tickets, nosebleeds are going for $1,000 in some places, and that's only for one night. It's a 2-night event. You got to remember that. And WWE ain't gonna give you the buy one get one free.
No,
you got to buy both them tickets. So you got to pay $2,000 to get in the nosebleeds. Plus, if you're coming out of town, you get a hotel. And granted, I will give you this: hotels are pretty expensive right now. Things are going up in price. Like, that part is solely true. But you're telling me you don't think wrestling fans, when they have the guap, when they have the money, you don't think they'll travel their ass out? We've seen all over the WWE, AEW, everywhere. Wrestling fans will travel for a show if it's good enough.
Yeah,
I mean,
if it's good enough. Man, look, hold on. Let me find it again. Keep going, man. Keep going.
This is the thing. Y'all can blame whatever you want. Vegas is expensive right now. I will give you that for sure. But these same tickets were not $1,000 last year. They upped the price so much. That's why these tickets are not selling out. Like, why do we have to give WWE an excuse for their shit not selling out? Why is that an excuse? You have to blame Vegas? No. Look at the ticket prices.
Yeah.
Wrestling Observer. Why are you trying to give WWE an excuse? Y'all wouldn't give AEW an excuse when they weren't selling out arenas. The people are giving shit to All In right now. Actively, as we're speaking, people are giving shit to All In because All In can't sell all their tickets 2.5 months out. But WWE is supposed to just be able to sell all their tickets. Like, no matter what, like, everyone's supposed to be blind faith to go in and buy these tickets for WWE. Pay $1,000 to be in the nosebleed, to be in one of the 2 nights, maybe, because you most likely can't afford both. Come on. Like, right. What are we doing?
Man, look. I found it. I found what I was looking for.
What you got?
You want to hear night 1 of WrestleMania?
Well, I do. I don't know what's on the card, actually.
Okay. So we got Jey Uso versus Gunther. Jade Cargill versus Naomi.
Personally, I would like that match, but go.
No, keep going.
Like, I would like that match. That match is for me, but for all you.
War Raiders versus New Day. Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano was Chad Gable, right?
Oh, Chad Gable's doing like a little a lucha thing?
Yeah.
No, that's kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of funny.
From the Gulf of America, right?
Oh.
Yeah, they did that one.
They did. Oh, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing it for. Never mind. Okay, I'm not as invested anymore. It's not funny.
LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu. Okay. Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair. And your main event is Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk.
Oh, CM Punk has a main event, huh?
On night 1, the night that doesn't matter. But
what wasn't CM Punk talking shit to MJF during their beef on AEW about, like, go to WWE and you can get a main event on night 1 of a 2-for-1 special, whatever the fuck he said.
Yeah, I guess who's on night 1?
Fucking hypocrite, bro. I bet you he was on camera crying at some point. I guarantee it.
So, like, I don't mean to shit on, like, this card or anything like that. Like, the ones I'd watch is Jey Uso. The Jey Uso part doesn't really interest me, but Gunther beating the shit out of Jey Uso does.
Yeah, Gunther being in the ring.
Yeah, Gunther just doing his thing is interesting to me. Like, I'd watch Jade and Naomi. War Raiders ain't it no more. When they were War Machine, back when they were in Ring of Honor and going to New Japan and shit, before they got neutered by WWE, they were great. New Day's New Day. At least, like, some black men got on a PLE, right?
They had to do it. They didn't have a choice because everyone started talking about it again.
Yeah, but it could have been War Raiders versus Montez and D'Angelo Dawkins, the current tag team champions. We'll it's neither here nor there.
Mm-hmm.
LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu because I like Jacob Fatu, right?
Yeah, for sure. Hell yeah.
That's my guy, man. So, but Stratton versus Charlotte Flair is going to be a train wreck.
Aren't they having like active beef, like actual like out of ring beef right now?
It wasn't out of ring. It was in ring. Like, yo, Tiffany Stratton went for the jugular went off script in ring. Talk
Yikes.
about her. Talk about Charlotte Flair's divorces.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
And then Charlotte Flair came back that saying that Ludwig Kaiser was in her DMs, but it was going back and forth. We'll just say that.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's a fucking train wreck. And then the last one, I don't really give a shit about. Right, Rey Mysterio versus Chad Gable. Chad Gable's amazing, but that match would probably be fun. But I would not pay $1,000 to sit in the nosebleeds to watch all this. That's where I'm getting at. There's not one match on here that would make I would pay $1,000 to sit in a nosebleed section to watch. I don't care what the experience is.
Okay, before we were so rudely interrupted,
Yeah.
we were talking about WrestleMania tickets and the fact that they're $1,000 and the fact that no one is going to pay the money for those tickets. Yeah, I don't know. Like a lot of people are giving a lot of excuses right now to WWE for this, and
Uh-huh.
it's just weird. Like it's just weird. You guys are being weird.
Yeah, like really. No, they just here's the thing, man. Right? Like whenever WWE loses, they have to turn around like they're winning. They always have to try. They got to send everybody out. Hey, make sure that we sound like we're winning in defeat. Right?
I don't get it.
It's like it's okay. It's okay. You lost. You shit the bed. Okay, your product isn't as good as you think it is. It's fine.
It happens to the best of us, right? It happens to everybody.
Yeah. So, yeah, none of those matches on that card. I pay 1,000. I wouldn't pay $1,000 to sit in the nosebleed seats to watch any of those matches.
No, I think I'm good. I
Plus
think I'm good.
airfare in a hotel. Yeah, fuck that.
Especially on the strip right now. And look, the strip right now is also they're having people are kind of like overblowing the problems, I think, but there are definitely problems.
Oh,
The
there's for
strip is
sure problems.
expensive.
Yeah, but if you happen to get this far with us talking about WWE and it doesn't affect you that much, or doesn't hurt you, for first off, you got tough skin. Thank you. And here's a tip. Okay, I'm gonna give you some tips. Get a hotel or whatever off the strip. Don't be on the strip.
Yeah,
Okay,
if you are coming out for WrestleMania, that's probably the best tip that you can give.
like find somewhere like you could. There's places like the South Point or like other places. Just get off the. You don't have to be on the strip.
I think. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, man.
I think the only thing that sucks about not being on the strip is that you got to get onto the strip when you're traveling down to get to Allegiant. Like that part sucks
Oh
if you
yeah,
don't have a car here, but you can make it work.
you can make it work. And they'll have some like extra lanes and stuff for like Uber and all that other shit. So it shouldn't be too bad. But I would say get your stuff off the strip so that you can pay a lot less out of pocket. I'll just say that you'll pay a lot less for food, hell, even drinking water. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
like just go off strip and shit. Go to a grocery store and get all your amenities and things like that you need while you're here. And that's the tip. That's all I'm going to give you today, guys.
Mm-hmm. If y'all coming down for the show, listen to Profit. That's probably the best way you're gonna do this. The only way you're gonna survive here is by not being on the strip.
Yeah, and it might take you away from that temptation of losing all your money in one night too. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Because let me tell you, these machines are rigged lately. Like they're rigged before. Don't get me wrong, but they are real bad now.
it's percentage, man. It's percent of a percent.
Oh yeah, they definitely brought down that percentage from 0.3 to 0.00001.
So hey, just letting you know ahead of time, and this is just from people that have lived in Vegas for a very long time,
Oh yeah,
right? Well, I've been here since like what '96.
I've been here longer than you. 93.
Yeah, so like we've been here a while,
We've seen how this place has completely changed.
and let me tell you, you go down to the strip, or I've seen people go down to the strip, lose all their fucking money, and are trying to wonder how they're gonna pay not only pay their mortgage, how they're gonna like keep their house, or they've like mortgaged for some weird reason they've mortgaged their house and put it all on fucking they put it all on what roulette. They put it all in red and it went black. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
some people you'll hear about people committing suicide because of that. Well, I should bleep that part out.
No, it's fine. It'll be fine. Like we've seen there are documentaries about like people living under the strip in like the sewer down there. Like
Yeah,
if y'all know about Vegas, like there is some shit out here.
yeah, and most of those people that lived under in the wash, basically underneath the strip,
Mm-hmm.
it's like literally a whole city under Las Vegas, right?
I know this is a wrestling podcast, and we'll get to
Yeah.
wrestling eventually. But I had a friend who tried to go down there.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, no, bro. They did not accept. This was also like when was this? This was 2012, I think, 2013, sometime around there. So it was a while ago. They
Yeah,
were still down there, but lately people have been okay with like more cameras down there lately. So there have been like documentaries and stuff like that about the people who live in the wash under the strip.
yeah.
But back in 2013, he almost died. He was almost up out of here.
Like, let me tell you, like I watched a few of those documentaries. The thing is, they don't get past the opening. Like the there's like the front layer of it. There's like a whole underground layer, like deep within. There's like a whole nother city. Like, and no one could get to it. You have to be invited there.
Mm-hmm. Or you gotta be down in your luck, like something.
No, no, you literally have to be invited.
Oh,
They have their own laws and their own rules down there. So like, yeah, like just more on the be careful when you're out here. Don't gamble all your money, guys. Like it's
no,
not worth it. Like too many people with stars in their eyes. Like I'm gonna gamble and make the jackpot. It ain't gonna happen, dude.
nope, not at
It's
all.
always against you. The house always wins. Okay,
Every time, every time.
so yeah.
All right, Profit.
All right, what you got, man?
We got a couple more topics we're going to talk about before we get into AEW.
Okay,
This one technically is not shitting on WWE, so if y'all are still here, like Prophet said, y'all are real ones. Appreciate you. We need to get some of this stuff off our chest. It's been, especially for me specifically, it's been a long week. But we have to talk about AEW Spring Breakthrough and what that means for AEW on Turner Broadcasting Network.
oh man, oh
So
man.
for those who don't know, Spring Breakthrough is this Wednesday on AEW. We're going to be talking about AEW. We'll talk about Dynamite Collision, your normal show, pretty soon. But this show is very special for one reason. This is the show that will officially make AEW the longest running weekly wrestling show on Turner Broadcasting, on TNT, and technically TBS. That whole company. And you can already kind of see the machine going against and talking a lot about AEW lately.
Yeah,
You hear people like RVD, you hear Mark Henry, you low key hear like a Wrestling Observer a little bit, not too much, but there are a lot of people out there who are very angry about this happening. And one person who I don't think we've heard a lot of from yet is Eric Bischoff.
he's stewing, bro. He's stewing.
At this point right now, the only thing Eric Bischoff is known for is getting WCW to TNT and making that thing happen for like a few years, literally running the company down and then running down every company he's been in creative of since.
Yeah, yeah. Like there's no better way to like talk about that other than he almost killed TNA, by the way, the company we talked about in the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Him and Hogan came there and almost destroyed the company. Until like the investors were like, "Get the fuck out! You, Hogan, and Vince Russo, get out." They had the trio. So you know what? I'm glad AEW is going to hit this milestone. And shit, they got what 4 more years of TV.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not only going to hit this milestone, but every week after, it's going to surpass it and it's just going to be better every week because we know AEW has far exceeded WCW, right?
At this point, yeah. As a
Like
wrestling company, yeah.
as a wrestler, it's been done exceeded it, right? Like it's not even a question now, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
can't You can't sit there and go, "Oh, WCW was not profitable." I hate to break it to you guys, it wasn't. You know why? Because they never went bankrupt, and they get sold for under what they sold for, like mere. It was almost pennies, guys, compared to like what they were when they were at the height during like the NWO days and stuff like that. Like that shit was run into the ground, dude. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I love WCW back in the day, but so it sucks that it happened, but it happened, and now we got a superior wrestling company in AEW, and it's just going to take it and keep on going.
I think it's like really incredible that AEW is able to hit this. Because listen, to be an AEW fan nowadays is to be scrutinized from every side, from a lot of your favorite wrestlers, a lot of wrestlers that were in AEW, and just general, just actively shitting on the company. Everything that AEW does is heavily scrutinized. AEW cannot, if they have a misstep, it is talked like people are still actively talking about the end of Dynasty from last week, despite the fact that we've had two shows since that have. I don't think it has changed the ending. Ending is still what it is, but it definitely was not as bad as people are making out to be now. People are actively freaking out. There are a lot of people who, I don't even think we got to talk about this on the podcast. We did a little bit, but there are a lot of people who fully just assumed that Swerve and Hangman were going to be the main event of All In, and they're using the ads to heavily say that that was what was going to happen and things like that. There, like, a lot of things are going on right now for AEW. So AEW needed this win, and Spring Breakthrough is going to be a win.
Oh
And a warning, you're going to hear Bischoff. You might even get like some people coming out of the woodworks, out of the graves,
yeah.
talking about AEW and how bad it is and how they're about to die and all this other stuff and blah, 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 blah. So just be prepared. This is going to come out on Monday. So just be prepared. Starting today, you're going to hear a lot of news if you're tapped into wrestling news from people who just, for whatever reason, do not like AEW.
Oh yeah, and plus it's going to be WrestleMania week too, so it's going to be tenfold, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to take that W, which is tell Bischoff to fuck off, and continue to watch, one of the best wrestling shows that is, it's not 90% soap opera and 10% wrestling. No, we're a 90% wrestling. We are mostly
Mm-hmm.
wrestling here. We're a sports focused wrestling uh, show as the alternative to what WWE is.
And when they do so proper, they're low key starting to do it better than WWE does, if we're gonna be honest.
Yeah, not gonna lie.
I mean, do we have to talk about the pull apart from Swerve Hangman from a couple weeks ago?
Hey, I'm gonna do my best Bobby Fish and go, where's the lie?
We need to have like a minute of silence to make that really hit. But we won't do that right now.
Oh no, that's for next week's show after we talk about the or before we talk about the spring break
Mm.
show. So yeah,
It's gonna, like, this week is going to be a very, if you're an AEW fan that's tapped into wrestling news, it's going to be a long week for you.
but hey, hang in there, guys, because you know what? You can always listen to the best AEW wrestling podcast, and it'll
Mm-hmm.
get you through it. We got too many episodes, so come on.
Mm-hmm.
We
This is the
got
episode. This is the episode we have to vent. There's a lot of shit going on. Like,
yeah,
we could not be podcast hosts without like spewing the venom on the mic every once in a while. We had to, because people are going insane right now.
yeah. We usually just let it go, but you know what? We're taking a little different approach and going at it this week.
Speaking of, do we have anything else before we get into this last topic? Because this
Let's
last
see.
this last one, like you said earlier, is going to lead us into our Dynamite and Collision reviews.
I could go with the Stephanie Vacker interview, but you know what? It's not worth it, man.
Oh yeah, if you
She
want
got
to, it's all you.
no. You know what? I implore you guys, go read it. I'm just gonna sum it up by this: she turned down more money from AEW for because WWE was literally like, oh, they're gonna give you that much? Yeah, have fun in AEW. Right? And she started crying, and then she was like, "Oh, I really want to be in WWE." And she took less money, went to NXT, and got that. You might have a WrestleMania moment, dream. So hey, more power to her, but they're still running on that. Hey, you might get a WrestleMania moment dream thing and not get paid a whole lot.
It's weird that still works, despite the fact that you can see how the company's been for like the last 10 years. The only thing that I'm actually like commendable about it on is
Uh-huh.
the person who gets the WrestleMania moments, Roman Reigns, who's about to pass a record for the most WrestleMania main events, by the way.
God,
It's crazy.
yeah, that's nutty.
All right, then we got one more thing to talk. We've talked about WWE fans. We've talked about TNA fans. We've low-key talked about Eric Bischoff and MLW fans.
Uh-huh.
We got one more fan base to talk about.
Which fan base is that, man?
Oh, we gotta talk about AEW's fan base. Look, ain't nobody getting away from us right now.
Everybody gonna get. Hey, it's on site, okay?
Y'all think we only had smoke for WWE? No. We have smoke for some of y'all right now too.
We got it for everybody. It's like Megan Bain in the back room. It's on site. Okay?
It's on site. I have a question for y'all. Proffitt, I have a question for them.
All right, what you got?
Why are y'all trying to retcon how bad the Death Riders was at the beginning of last year? What is going on? Why are we trying to retcon how bad the Death Rider story was from Wrestle Dream on? What's going on?
Couldn't tell you, man, but I think it's like, look, it was a feud in 2 promos, in my opinion, and you looked at it all, and you actively went back and watched the whole, pretty much summed up and watched the whole storyline till now. So yeah, let them know what you saw, because I think I'm in agreement with you that it is a feud in a couple of promos.
Here's the summary. I'm gonna make this as short as possible.
Okay.
Because you can literally talk about this for a good hour and a half easily.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make this very short. After Moxley lost the IWGP World Heavyweight title to Tetsuya Naito at Forbidden Door, Moxley was gone for a little bit, right? He finally got that break that we all wanted him to have for a little bit because he deserved it. Because Mox, and I have to preface this by saying this now because some of y'all are being weird. Mox is the ace of AEW.
That's never been a doubt.
Never been a doubt. Like Moxley, right, is still actively doing everything he can for the company right now. Is the story good? No. But there are some weirdos who are like, oh, Moxley, AEW fans want Moxley gone. No. We want the story to end. Difference. Anyway, Moxley comes up, talks to Darby Allin. Darby Allin at this point has the number 1 contendership for at this time, Bryan Danielson's AEW World Championship. At more than likely, it was going to be at what's that show? The show in New York, Grand Slam. Yeah. Plans were changed. That's when we got Nigel versus Bryan Danielson. Great match, by the way. We also got Moxley versus Darby for the number 1 contendership. Everyone was confused about why this is happening. I don't know if everyone remembers. Everyone was kind of confused about why Moxley was doing this. Everyone just kind of assumed that Darby was going to be world champion at this point, right? Darby lost. Moxley gains the world championship, or gains the world championship number 1 contendership, and then goes on to wrestle Bryan Danielson at Wrestle Dream. Everyone was very excited about this match. It was a Blackpool Combat Club versus Blackpool Combat Club, because that's what they were called before. Moxley wins in a very good match, by the way. This was not like Death Rider Moxley. This was like old AEW Moxley, what he was doing before. Beats Bryan Danielson, puts a bag over his head, suffocates him basically to death. They take the world title. We get the Death Riders, which at this point, they weren't called the Death Riders, but for the sake of this, we're just going to call them Death Riders. Put the title in the bag and then walked off. Throughout all this, Moxley's doing a lot of really cryptic promos, talking to people saying like, this is not, talking to Tony Schiavone saying this is not your company anymore, telling everyone that this is not their company anymore, right? We have the whole younger generation of the locker room is out watching Bryan Danielson get murdered at the end of this. There's nothing they can do. Death Riders take off. And from this point, this is when all the promos started making literally no sense. Moxley was speaking in riddles. And I don't know how long y'all think this was, but let me tell you. Moxley was talking riddles. Literally, his first world title defense was against Orange Cassidy at Full Gear. We didn't really like that. There was ending shenanigans. We saw that. Everyone was kind of like weird about that, right?
Yeah.
The next pay-per-view, which is World's End. So this is a space. This is already 2 months, by the way. Moxley's still doing very weird promos. He challenges Hangman, Jay White, and Orange Cassidy. Moxley wins. through shenanigans again. And this is when Darby's coming in with the car and everything's happening, everything's going crazy, right? Like everything's going crazy. So now everyone expects Darby Allin to be the next person to beat Jon Moxley for the world championship. But that doesn't happen because they jump Darby and throw him down a flight of stairs. And again, this is all happening while we have no idea why Moxley's doing this.
Right.
And this has been 2 months of this. Moxley beats Powerhouse Hobbs in January. So again, he won the title early October. This is now literally 2 months into the title reign. Yes. You have no idea what's going on. And at this point, this is when Cope kind of gets involved. But Cope doesn't really do anything up until the Brisbane Brawl, which happened in February. Yeah. And again, while this is happening, I'm skipping through over because he had some Dynamite matches. He wrestled like Rated CR. He wrestled a 10-man tag or an 8-man tag with the Learning Tree, which is a weird one, by the way. 12-man tag. A lot of stuff was happening. Brisbane Brawl happens. We still don't know Mox's motivations. Everyone at this point is livid about not seeing the title for 4 months. Because I need y'all to remember that. At this point, it was 4 months since we've seen the AEW World Championship. Everyone was livid. Everyone's freaking out. You couldn't hear the end of people talking about how they want the Death Rider story to end. Then we go to the Brisbane Brawl, where Claudio and Moxley beat Cope and Jay White. And at this point, Cope is starting to take out the Death Riders. It's after this. So this is February. Then we get the Jon Moxley versus Cope, and then later Christian Cage world title match, which happens at Revolution. So at this point, it's been 5 months. And I don't know what happened. I don't know why this happened, but the world lost their minds about this whole thing. It was last month. Proffitt, you remember how crazy people went that Cope and the Moxley match was as bad as it was, and we still had Moxley as the world champion.
Yes. Shit. We even talked about it.
We talked about it. We talked for 40 minutes about how bad this decision was. And we were happy that at least they got Cope and Christian out of the way. Right. By the way, we haven't even seen Christian since this. It's been over a month.
He's taking a break.
It's been over a month. We haven't seen Christian. And at this point, we get to Swerve. But first, we have the title match, the world title match street fight that everyone still talks about because Moxley had Spike in his back. That's that match. This is in March, by the way. So at this point, it's been 5 months. And the first match that people universally loved from Jon Moxley's 5-month title reign was a street fight that happened on Dynamite. Low-key has a makeup match for how bad the end of Revolution was.
Yes.
Then Swerve gets involved. Then everyone's kind of like, Swerve, this is when Swerve Hangman, we're getting Swerve Hangman. And again, this was last week. This one was last week. Mm-hmm. Swerve loses, and the internet goes insane. Everyone wanted Swerve to win. Swerve didn't win. The world started freaking out. It didn't matter what happened. Didn't matter if the Bucks were there. Didn't matter anything. People were freaking out. And now we fast forward to today. In the span of 7 days, now all of a sudden, AEW fans don't understand real heels. And the reason that they want Moxley gone is because they don't know how to handle a real heel world champion. And there's a lot of people that are saying the Death Rider story has always been good, and everyone has been overreacting for a long time because the story has always been as clear and concise as it is right now. That's the breakdown. 6 months of Jon Moxley's title reign leads us here.
Yes.
Where literally last week people wanted Tony Khan's head because Swerve didn't win. And then all of a sudden, now that the Bucks are involved, and now that Moxley has stated what he's doing in promos now, Death Rider story has apparently always been good.
Yeah. There's some things to unpack here, right? So there was glimpses of like people starting to say, "Oh, I don't know, but the Death Rider story, is starting to be good." One of the times was that time Marina Shafir cut a promo. Mm-hmm. She was cutting in against Willow, and people, they kind of like turned, they freaked out and they turned the corner on that. And then, the Cope feud. The Cope feud was the pivot. We could all tell it was the pivot, right? Because I think the Death Rider story was supposed to go a different direction before we got Cope and Mox. So big pivot, and it's actually the first person to actually go at the Death Riders was Cope, because everybody just forgot when they got in the feud with Mox. There was like 6 motherfuckers there that were going to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
So, that whole feud, and it just ended up. And then we had the Swerve feud, which was also better. The Cope and Swerve feuds with Mox were better than the other ones. They were actually like, again, two people that actually went at them, right? But the fact that up until that point, though, before that point, Death Riders made no sense. It was hard to really make sense of what the hell was going on. As watcher and podcaster, we had no idea what was going on. Mox was speaking in those riddles. It's just, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. He might have been talking about nothing. He might have been talking about the ant on the ground that he saw today. Who knows? Right? So after the promo on Monday, well, we're going to get into it after this part,
Mm-hmm.
and he finally explains kind of what he's doing. The Bucks are involved now, and then there's all this other stuff that, hey, it's easy to tell what the hell's going on with all the rest of the stuff. I think people are like, wait, it was good. They're always, about to go with the Bucks. It's like, no, this is never like that, guys.
No, like you said, there was definitely a pivot because everyone still kind of assumes there's camps right now. There's a bunch of people that kind of assume that Darby's still going to be the one to beat Mox, despite the fact that I think he's on Mount Everest now.
Yeah, he's climbing now. And it's going to be like another month and a half, 2 months until he gets back down.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt they're going to hotshot him straight to the title when he gets back.
No, because he's been training for Everest. I feel like it would be hard to come directly back to wrestle a world title style match. Like I don't think you can just do that.
Well, let alone take those car crash bumps that he's been taking, right?
Exactly.
So, I just don't know, man. So it's not that the Death Rider story got better. It's just that the players involved are better, right? Like now you got Swerve, Kenny Omega, the Bucks, Okada. No telling who else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is going to, join that, spoiler alert, what the hell is that called? Anarchy in the Arena,
Mm-hmm.
right? So probably Hangman, more likely Hangman.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not that the story got better, it's that the players involved are better. That's it.
Because I can tell you right now, people are freaking out about a main event that's happening in 3 months. I can assure you, the people who are saying that the Death Rider story has always been good all of a sudden, if whoever wins the Owen does not beat Jon Moxley at All In, y'all are gonna freak out. It's gonna be Armageddon on the streets of the internet.
Yeah.
At this point, everyone does. Like I said, there's a bunch of people that still assume that Darby's going to be the one to beat Moxley, and I don't want to be the one to say that. Oh, it's a definite yes or definite no because I don't know. None of us know. Like we're just talking. None of us know. But I can say if Moxley does get out of All In as world champion still, and it will have been climbing up towards like 9 months, 10 months of not seeing the AEW World Championship, even with the renewed focus of the Death Riders and the story being a little bit better, I don't think that's enough to justify this title reign because the first 4.5 months of it was not good.
Right. They're gonna have to pull out some shit. Let's just put it like that. Yeah, man. I don't want to say it's all looking like it's going to be Ospreay versus Mox, because I'll get, people will start bringing out the fire and all that stuff and try to kill me for it. But I feel like that's going to be the main event at All in Texas.
I can see it. I'm with you on that.
Especially with Ospreay cutting that promo that there's an assassin, to take down the king.
Mm-hmm.
So, but at the same time, it'll be hilarious. He says that promo and then loses it,
Yeah,
it goes a different way, right?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people are kind of to some people's respect on saying the Death Rider story is good now. I feel like some people are giving a little bit more grace because of the people that are involved, like you said earlier.
Yeah,
but there's no way Moxley can get out of All In wrestling the way he's wrestling right now with the world title. If it's anyone in the Owen, honestly,
Yeah,
but if it's especially if it's Osprey, if Osprey loses in the main event, especially if it's Osprey, but if Osprey loses in the main event of All In and doesn't get the world championship,
man.
yeah, there's gonna be problems. There's a lot of problems right now. A lot of people are bringing up this is a fact that people bringing up when it was quote unquote teased that Swerve and Hangman were gonna be in the main event. I'm like I said quote unquote. Literally, what people are saying is that they were involved with his segments with each other again, and that they're the last two that you see on that All In promo. That's what people were calling as the thing that said that Swerve and Hangman were going to be the main event. I don't know. There's no way that the thing I was saying, like ticket sales were spiking when there were people that were assuming that Swerve and Hangman were going to be the main event.
Yeah.
Ticket sales have slowed down again for All In. Again, it's 2.5 months out. We still got a while away. But there has been a noticeable difference between what was happening last week going into Dynasty and what's happening this week going into Spring Breakthrough. There's a noticeable difference. Yeah, ticket sales have slowed. I have a feeling it could be a lot of things, right? Because there's a lot of shit going on in America right now. A lot of shit. That's what I know. I talked shit about WWE earlier, but a lot of people aren't traveling right now because people just don't have the money.
Yeah.
It was fun to talk shit about WWE. It always is fun to talk shit about WWE. But realistically, people don't have the money to travel right now. Like that's just kind of how that is. And a lot of the people that come to like WrestleMania or to like an All In are international people. And I don't know if y'all are living under a rock or not, but they're actively being targeted by our dumbass president currently. But no, not my dumbass president. By America's dumbass president right now. So there's a high possibility that a lot of people from overseas are not going to be coming into watching just to watch wrestling shows. High possibility. But
High possibility. Yeah.
but there I've been rambling. My whole point is Moxley cannot leave All In with the world title. He can't. If Moxley leaves with the world title, they might really be waiting for Darby, and that is the wrong call.
Yeah. They shouldn't. They shouldn't wait for Darby. After, I'm gonna climb Mount Everest. It's like, okay, you made that decision. So we're gonna work around you and work without you. Maybe you'll get a shot at it and lose, but that's it. Whoever the new champion is not gonna. Or you can have a little thing with the Death Riders after Mox loses it.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, the Booker.
Yeah, we don't know. This is speculation. We don't know what's going on. All I can say is, it is for sure a mistake if Mox walks out world champion after All In.
Mm-hmm.
That is a mistake.
So the one thing, I forget who said it. I wish I could give him credit, but I forget who put it up there. But despite the online criticism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, and this is allegedly, guys, allegedly, since Moxley has got the title, sales have went up and viewership has went up.
Yeah, I've heard that too. It seems pretty true.
So I'm not gonna say it's 100. I don't know if it's 100% or not. I don't have the shit in front of me, but allegedly everything has went up. So now there's also the case too, right, of us being the vocal minority of our opinion of what we're saying. We might be the vocal minority, and there might be more and more people that like what's going on with the Death Riders, and people that aren't talking. So I'm not sure.
I think that's like the best point out of this. Because the thing that we all have to remember, because I think even I'm bad at forgetting about this. Us who are talking about wrestling, people who listen to these podcasts, and people who actively speak like 5 days out of 7 about wrestling are the hardcore, like top 5%. And I'm being generous on that 5% because it's probably not even 5. There are a lot more people who just go and they're like, oh, I like wrestling. Oh, WWE's here. I'm going to watch the WWE show. I'm going to be there. Oh, AEW's here too. I'm going to go watch the AEW show. There are more people like that than a lot of us on here that yap about wrestling realize.
Yeah, and another thing too, just to give a complete picture. Tony Khan is a numbers guy. Okay, you remember when he was putting Swerve on TV all those times, like early,
Mm-hmm.
and he kept doing it, and Swerve would show up like almost in everything. It was because whenever Swerve showed up on TV, the viewership spiked every time. Like
Every
it's
time.
consistent. So, that led to Swerve getting more spots and being, champion.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Death Rider, this is going to bring it home, it might sound counter to what we were talking about. Numbers wise, it might be whenever the Death Riders is on TV right now, as it is right now, just like what I was talking about with Swerve, the viewership spikes just like it did before.
Very possible.
And which is the reason why they're hanging on to it and going longer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we have to take that part into consideration too.
All right. That is a very good spot for us to stop and restart so we can get proper timestamps for the Dynamite Collision review.
Yeah.